Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk. Thank you for your continued support of this platform. We are here to celebrate you, industrial professionals all around the world. Yeah, because you're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly. It is an absolutely exciting time to be in industry. And it could be in manufacturing, it could be in oil and gas, it could be, power generation industry. It is an absolutely exciting time, and that's why Industrial Talk is here for you. All right, in the hot seat, we have Century Equipment CEO. His name is Brian Baker. It was a barn burner of a conversation. The guy is really nice, as well as many in the industry, but he's exceptional. And we were talking about all the stuff that's taking place within Century Equipment. It's pretty impressive. They're good. They're good. All right, let's get cracking with the conversation. Yeah. I never tire. Never tire of having conversations in industry. The people are absolutely spectacular. And you too. I'm pointing at you in the video. You're special too. And that's why you need to be celebrated. And that's why, how about this for a segue? That's why you need to go out to Industrial Talk. You need to amplify your voice. You need to amplify your message. You have something to say? Industrial Talk is here for you. You just go out and you click and you say, hey, Scott, let's have a conversation on, I'm having one on quantum computing, cybersecurity, quantum computing. How about that? That's a mind blower. But anything, you need to just reach out, info@industrialtalk.com. You can do that. Reach out to me and have that conversation, because the reality is that we need to do a better job at communicating and expressing, what is happening in industry. Where do you fit? What problems are you solving? It's all a part of that, and of course, it's happening fast. So it's important for you to be able to have that message out there quickly and hey, I'll make you feel warm and fuzzy. I'm not going to let you just sort of dangle out there. You tell your story. It's important. It's important for the market so that everybody understands what's taking place and what's in your mind. So go out to Industrial Talk or just email me at info@industrialtalk.com. It's all out. It's just there. All right, let's get on with the conversation. Okay, there's some real quotables in this particular conversation. The first one is, he's a nice guy. And they're doing some incredible things at Century Equipment. And it's been around for a long time, too. Been around for a long time. And they have an incredible history of success. And it's a good conversation, just like anything else in industry. But there's some good quotes. One that I want to make sure that he said, here is why it's so important, or why manufacturing here in the States is so important. And there are four. And I'm going to look down at my notes. One, low cost of energy. Apparently we have good low cost of energy. Yeah, low cost of energy. Skilled workforce. Yes, we do. We have that. And it's going to get better. It has to get better. Technology access. We have access to technology. Yes, we do. And without a doubt, it's the biggest market. Yeah, it's huge. It's gigantic. It's enormous. That's it. I'm going to create a little snippet on that one, because that was just like home run. All right, here's Brian Baker, Century Equipment. Enjoy the conversation. Brian, welcome to Industrial Talk. Thank you very much for joining me and be able to talk a little bit about Century Equipment. This is going to be a great conversation, listeners. They have 100 years of providing solutions and incredible services. That's what Century Equipment is all about. 100 years. That's a long.
Yeah, that's amazing, Scott. And thank you for having me. Century Equipment is my favorite topic to talk about, so I'm looking forward to that.
Before we get into that topic, and we also talked about manufacturing and what they do, as well as your unique approach to employee ownership. That's all good. It's all on the table for discussion. But before we get into that, Brian, give us a little background on who you are, where you come from.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that opportunity. I went to college to be an accountant, so I'm a CPA by training, so I have a financial background. And before coming to Century, I came to Century almost 30 years ago in 1995. I had a couple of different financial positions. And I came to Century in 1995 as Century's chief financial officer. And then I was chief financial officer for the first 17 years, and now president and CEO for the last almost 13 years of my time at Century. And I like to think of myself as a reformed accountant. I know enough about accounting and finance to be dangerous, but I really like this change in my career where I've gotten to focus on the whole broad strategic aspect of managing the business, not just on the finances.
I love it. And yeah, you've just been there forever.
It seems like it, yes. And when I started at Century a long time ago, I figured I'd want to be here 6 or 7 years and then do something different. But it's such a great business. And the business continued to evolve over the whole time that I was there. And so there was always a challenge. And so it's been a great joy being part of Century for 30 years. And it's never been a dull moment.
30% of it. You've been there.
Exactly, yes.
See, I could do the math. So before let's dive a little deep into what Century is all about. Give us a little 411 background on Century, the company, how it started, and what was the focus?
Well, I will say, just broad picture, stepping back, Century does great things for the world because you think about all the processes that we count on to make our economy and our world go. So think about power generation, think about refining petroleum into gasoline and petrochemicals, and think about treating wastewater. So our products and services help support our customers in managing those processes and making sure that the processes are doing what they're supposed to do, and that all their people and equipment is operated safely, and all their people go into their plants every day, do their jobs, and come out of their plants every day with everything that they came into the plant with. So
give us like a use case, specifically from a power generation perspective, where your solution is sort of deployed. I have a power generation and utility background, so I can definitely relate. So I would like to know where that point of contact is.
Yeah, thank you for that. If you think about a power station, fossil power station could be using coal, natural gas, nuclear even. That's heating up water. The water turns to steam, and the steam drives a turbine.
Yep.
And if you have bad chemistry in that water, say, for example, a bad pH level. If you remember from your high school chemistry class, a bad pH level can cause corrosion on the inside of the boiler. And that can create an inefficient boiler or a dangerous situation potentially.
Yep.
And so our customers monitor the water chemistry, and they do it at really precise levels. They're really fine, ultra precise definitions of what they're monitoring for. And when the chemistry goes out of whack, they can either go, like, it could be the result of a leak in the system, and then they can go find out where the leak is. Or it could be some corrosion or something's going on in the system that they can then go and address. But if you think about, but the circumstances.
Go ahead. I was jumping on you because I'm galloping. I'm listening to you and I'm getting all giddy. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's okay. But the circumstances in a power plant, really hot, really high pressure, inconsistent flow of the sample from the boiler. So our equipment and services help our customers moderate heat, moderate flow, and moderate pressure. And so the chemical analyzers can do their job. And then we package it together into a sampling system that the customer relies on to run their power station. And that's about 45 or 50% of our business is steam and water sampling in a power plant. And we also provide services. So we're historically been a manufacturer, but we also provide services that help our customers tear out their old equipment, install their new equipment, start it up, train them on how to use it, and then we can also give them a maintenance contract to help them run the equipment going forward. So we like to think of ourselves as a manufacturer, but we're also a full service provider as well.
Yeah, so now you're providing sampling services, testing services, as well as the ability to be able to provide the deployment of these assets as well. Installment of them as well. So has that always been sort of the pedigree behind Century? For how did Century get started? I mean, what was like?
I think Century's history is really interesting. So we're in southeastern Wisconsin, and we're the heart of dairy country. And so back in 1924, there was a dairy called the Carnation Dairy, still exists in Waukesha, Wisconsin today. And the guy that started the business was named Roy Henze, and he was the head engineer for the Carnation Company. And back then, dairies relied on boilers to run their process because the electric grid was unreliable. Right. And so Roy had all these great ideas to make dairy boilers more efficient. And so he went out and started Century Equipment. And of course, the first customer that he had was the Carnation Company, and he went forward from there. And then over time, into the 50s and early 60s, the electric grid got more reliable. Sure. And so dairies stopped having boilers. And so the same technology that applied to a dairy boiler also applied to a power plant boiler. And so the business then evolved into power plant steam and water sampling. So that's kind of how it worked. Being in Wisconsin, we trace our history back to supporting the dairy industry.
Wow. See, that's cool stuff. I isn't it funny when you start to research companies and how they start out, and then, fast forward and what they're doing today, how they just, I love the fact that you're nimble, you adapt, you look at what's taking place in the market, and you provide the solution that is demanded at that particular time. That's pretty good. I love it.
Yeah. And if you're going to stay in business 100 years, we've been in business 100 years. And that's, of course, one of the things that I'm really proud of, being part of a business that's been doing things that support the economy, support the world, all the things that we count on, going to a wall switch and flipping the switch and the lights go on. We take it for granted. But if it wasn't for Century, that wouldn't happen. We flush your toilet, the waste goes away, you never see it again, but it gets returned safely to the environment in a clean, environmentally friendly way. We have everything to do with that. So it's
you're doing also water treatment as well.
Well, the company has evolved a lot over the years. So, I talked about the evolution to being primarily in the power industry.
Yeah.
So when I started at Century 30 years ago, our revenue were about 85% into the power industry. So we were very dependent on the power industry. And there's a couple of things that the company has continued to evolve, because after Enron happened in 2001, the power industry was a very bad place to be. The Enron debacle, they were cooking the books and making it look like there was more power demand in our country. And so the power industry built more power generation capacity than they needed. And so after Enron fell apart, there was a big retrenchment. And during that time period, it forced us to go out and find other applications, other industries that we could use our technology in. And that's when we got heavily into oil refining, petrochemical processing, even food processing. So the company diversified in the 2000s. And now again in 2020s, we've diversified again.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Speaking of power, I digress. I go off on a tangent here. I'm weaving over here now. How is your organization responding to the increase? You've got to see it. The increased demand for power. I mean, it's going through the roof. I went to a conference. They're talking about three times as much capacity that it is today. They're because of the demand.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting thing to talk about. But you also have to look back at what's happened in the last dozen years or so. So for the last 12 years, the power industry has been kind of a dark place to be. Our customers are, they're generally all the people that generate power in the United States. There are about 1,200 power plants in the country, and almost every single one of them are our customers. And our customers were looking, if you talk about being back in like 2012, 2015, they were looking at the next 10 or so years, and they were seeing green energy coming at them, and it seemed inevitable, and they didn't know exactly how it was going to play out. And so one of the things that they did is they did start investing in green technology, and they just stopped spending money on their legacy technology. Wow. And so for us, our products and services only apply in a fossil situation. We don't make products and services that support solar or wind. So the last 12 years or so, we were operating in an industry that was either flat or declining. Yeah. And our customers closed a lot of their plants. They repowered a lot of their plants from coal to natural gas. And one of the things that's really interesting is they let all their people go. They have people, I'm a baby boomer, and all the baby boomers that worked in the power plant, they just let them retire, and they didn't replace them. And so one of the things that we did to find our way in this kind of dark space is we developed the service capability. We used to be just a manufacturer, and if a customer bought our equipment, they installed it themselves or they hired a contractor to do it. But we started doing maintenance contracts to run our equipment in the plants, and then we also offered the life cycle services to tear the old equipment out, install the new equipment, start it up, train people how to use it, and then give them a contract. And so that's one of the ways that we've stayed really strong and relevant in a flat or declining industry that's been that way for a dozen years.
Not now.
And so if you think about now, of course, cloud computing, AI, electric vehicles, and you pile all this new demand. And I don't think our customers planned very well for all this new demand. I think, I don't think it took them by surprise totally, but I think it still took them by the amount of the demand took them by surprise.
The reality is that it's happening, whether we like it or not, and we better be able to respond to it in an effective way. And that, to me, is the installation of capacity. And please don't send me any emails. It's a thermal generation model. You need it. You need that force. You need that predictability. You need that reliability, that clean power. And when I say clean power, not the renewable stuff, but clean power is that's 60 cycles, that's being delivered, it's reliable, period.
Yeah, our economy, and our lives, not just our economic well-being, our lives depend on having a reliable power supply. And our customers, I think green energy is still going to continue to evolve, but our customers thought it was going to evolve faster, and that transition to green energy was going to happen much sooner than it's really going to. And so if you combine that, the increased demand, the customers thinking that the industry was going to evolve in a different way, and you combine that with 12 years of deferred or no investment in the power infrastructure, the demand for our power products is extremely high right now. And the good news is that we've managed to stay strong in this kind of bad industry for the last dozen years, and now we're well positioned to take advantage of it.
It's not now, man. It's definitely, when you start talking and thinking about the demand from these data centers, it's above my pay grade. It's happening. So it's nuclear.
One of the most interesting things I think about that, Scott, is Microsoft is going to pay to keep the 3 Mile Island facility open. The nuclear power plant that wasn't damaged back in 1979 has been operating for the last 50 years, and there was going to go out of, was going to be shut down, and Microsoft is paying to maintain the facility and buy all the power. There's another plant in Southwest Michigan called Palisades that was shuttered. It was a nuclear power plant that was shut down about 4 or 5 years ago, and that plant is being reopened, and they're investing billions of dollars too.
It's an incredible time. All right.
Yeah, it really is.
I have to shift. It's really exciting. And you're absolutely right. It was sort of a dark period of time, didn't really do much. And then when you have utilities are not known for being nimble, and You got the rate case, and you've got this, and there's just that structure. We depended on it for such a long time. Now the market is saying it's time.
Exactly.
That's exciting for your
it really is exciting, and like I say, we never dismantled our ability to operate strongly in the power industry. In fact, we made it better by offering services, and so now we're so well positioned to take advantage of this boom period.
Let's go into manufacturing. You mentioned manufacturing. You're saying we're not only we're not only in the utilities or in the power gen space. We manufacture. Explain to us a little bit about that.
Well, at our core, we're manufacturers. We have a manufacturing facility in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, which is about 35 miles west of Milwaukee, and it's a world-class manufacturing facility. If you took our manufacturing facility and put it in Germany, in Switzerland, in Japan, in South Korea, any of those places, we would be top of the heap because we have strong, really great technology that we're applying, and our manufacturing facility is world class. And I always like to talk about, my dad worked in a factory. When I grew up, I got to visit my dad's factory a couple of times, and it was dark, dirty, dingy, dangerous. I like to say all the D's of manufacturing that are no good. Yeah. And it was honestly, it was a place that you wouldn't want to spend 8 hours a day every day. But my dad did. And if you went to Century's factory, it's amazing. You walk into it, it's clean, it's well lit, it's orderly. The work people are doing is not repetitive work. It's more troubleshooting, programming, highly skilled work. We have great automated equipment and robotics that we apply across the whole factory. And so it's great manufacturing work, and it's just a really stark contrast with
what are you manufacturing? What's the widget?
Well, we're manufacturing the sampling equipment. So, if you want to continue on with the power application,
yes,
the physical equipment is a steam and water sampling system that would go into a power plant. And and then we make, of course, all the components and all the parts. We do buy out from suppliers the chemical samplers that actually do the analysis, but we manufacture all the other parts of the system and then all the components that go with it. And then we also make similar equipment for wastewater applications, chemical and petrochemical and oil refining applications. So we are making equipment that our customers install or our service people install.
There's this buzz, this conversation that exists in the world of manufacturing in general.
Yeah.
How are you incentivized to expand your capabilities? Like, we have stuff happening in DC. Yeah. They're trying to stimulate more manufacturing. Do you find that your organization will be responding and expanding the capabilities and then leveraging all that data analytics to be able to produce more accurate? It's just, there's so much going on in the world of manufacturing. Yeah. How do you find yourself residing in that?
And I think that the manufacturing in the United States was alive and well before the administration changed. I think that if you look at all the things that our country has going for it, we have this really strong manufacturing base. And no matter what happens, manufacturing is alive and well and going to keep expanding in the United States.
Love it.
And if you think about it, there are really like four factors that you want to cite. The first is that you think about all the low cost, abundant, reliable energy that we have available in the country. So anything that needs a lot of energy to run a process, so refining petroleum or creating chemicals or fertilizers, anything like that, the U.S. is the best place to be because we have this great source of reliable energy and inexpensive reliable energy.
That's good.
And then you look at our workforce. We have the most talented, skilled manufacturing people in the world, and they're highly educated, very skilled, and I think we're turning the corner on showing people that work with their hands that manufacturing work is fantastic work. It's a great career, and so I think we're going to keep drawing people that want to have a great job into the manufacturing workforce.
Love it.
And then you think about technology. I talked about our factory. You walk into our factory and it's you see robotics, You see machines that run themselves. You see people that are really programming and making sure that the machines are running the way they should be, rather than doing pre-predicative manufacturing. So the U.S. has the best technology, and very, because it's right in the United States, it's access to technology.
I love
And
it.
I think, lots of times when we think of tech companies, we always think of, the people that run the internet, or, think of Microsoft, and you think about Sentry, we are applying similar technology in a manufacturing setting. So, so that's another thing that the U.S. has going for it, that we have access to all this technology.
Yeah.
And then finally, you think about the United States as the biggest market in the world. And why wouldn't you, tariffs or not, it makes sense to locate manufacturing next to your biggest customer. So I think, if you look at all those factors, the future for manufacturing was bright 5 years ago, a year ago, and it's still bright right now in the United States. And regardless of what happens, tariffs or no tariffs, I think manufacturing is going to keep thriving for a really long time.
Yeah, I feel like it can conquer the world, Brian. That's a great summary. Low cost energy, workforce skilled, technology assets, and we are the biggest market, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and if you just take a step back and think about that, why wouldn't you manufacture in the United States? There's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't manufacture in the United States.
All right. One last topic. I like that a lot. One last topic.
Sure.
You talked about employee ownership. What does that mean? How does that benefit me?
Yeah, there are all kinds of ways you can look at employee ownership. We are an ESOP company, employee stock ownership plan company, and we have been that for almost 40 years. Our family, I told you, Roy Henze started our business 100 years ago. Then the second generation of his family, Dick Henze, ran the business for another several years. And when Dick was and Mary, his wife Mary, were both in the business, they started thinking about how they were going to transition to their retirement. And the logical thing is to turn the business over to their kids, but the kids were not business people. The kids were an artist, a musician, a nurse, those kind of things. And so none of the kids in their family were ones that would logically take over the business. And so at that time, employee ownership, as we knew it, was a novel thing. It had just been created by Congress in the early 1980s. And so our family, Mary and Dick Henze, were pioneers when they sold the business to its employees in 1986. And we've been employee owned for 40 years almost.
Gosh, that's a bold move. That's bold thinking. I love it.
It was. And there are a lot of different ways you can look at employee ownership. And the first one is what I just described. It's a way to transition a business from an individual or a family or a small group of people ownership over to its employees. And, Mary and Dick, the owners of the business at that time, they were very benevolent. They loved their employees. They treated them well, paid them well. And the employees are also very loyal to Mary and Dick and the business. And so what better way to reward your employees than turning the business over to them so they can reap the benefits of employee ownership? And so if you think about people that work in a business owning a part of the business, they're going to be highly motivated. They're going to be invested in making sure that the business serves its customers well. And so employee-owned companies perform better. We serve our customers better. We serve, we have more efficient factories. We have more efficient customer service. Our customers love working with us. One of the reasons is because our employees care so much. And so employee ownership is a great way to tap into making a great business.
Exceptional.
And for the employees, for the people that work in the business, they get an enhanced retirement plan, because the employee stock ownership plan is a retirement plan in addition to their 401k plan. So when they retire, they can have extra assets to call on. So people that work at Sentry don't normally work until they're 65. They normally retire when they're in their upper 50s or their low 60s, because they have Social Security, they have their 401k plan, but then they also have their employee stock ownership plan to help them in retirement.
Well, that brings up that. How do you strategically backfill that for lack of a better a silver tsunami that decides that I'm leaving, I'm retiring.
Yeah, we have to plan for it. That is one of the things that there's a financial plan for it, because in an employee stock plan company, people accumulate shares of Century stock in the trust over the time that they work at Century. Yeah. And when they leave, we have to buy those shares back. So there's a financial obligation that we have to plan for. And if you look at our company, the peak of that financial obligation was in about 2021 and 22, when we had most of the baby boomers retire in our business.
Yeah.
So that's behind us, but it's one of the things you have to plan for, because it is a big financial obligation buying those shares back. You know, a normal company doesn't buy a percentage of their shares back every year. But you plan for it, but then you also have to plan for filling the skill sets, filling the the people that worked in the business for so long. So we do a lot of planning for succession at all levels of our business, both for a financial reason, but then a getting the work done reason as well.
Exceptional. I'm conquering the world because of you, Brian.
Well, thank you. You can see I plan on being at Century a short amount of time, 6-7 years, and I've been at Century 30 years now, because it's such a great place to work. And I love our customers. I love what the customers do for the world, and I love how we've made the world go for 100 years.
I like it. If I'm motivated by hearing what you have to say, if I'm listening to this podcast and I want to contact Brian, what is the best way to contact Brian and make you a part of my team?
I have a LinkedIn profile, Brian Baker at Century Equipment. Century Equipment has a great website, and anybody can email me, brian.baker@century-equip.com. And one of the things, I'm very passionate about, you can tell about Century, but also about employee ownership. And one of the things that I've made kind of a passion over my career is lots of times business owners are thinking about transitioning their business, retiring. And a lot of people sell to private equity. A lot of people sell to a big company. A lot of people turn it over to their kids. And I think selling to the business's employees sometimes isn't thought of. I think people in that situation think it's too administratively burdensome. I don't want the government in my business. I don't know if the employees can handle running the business.
Yeah.
And so I think there are these misconceptions about employee ownership that that if anybody wants to reach out to me, I can help clear up, because employee ownership is a great way to transition your business. You're going to get a fair dollar selling your business to your employees. And if you have most business owners are benevolent. They love their employees. They love the people that help make the business great. What better way to reward your employees and make the business have a great legacy than turning it over to the people that help make the business great?
There. And that is a great note to end on. Absolutely outstanding, Brian. This was a fabulous conversation. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I enjoyed it as well.
It was cool. Thank you for being on Industrial Talk. All right, listeners, we're going to have all the contact information for Brian out on Industrial Talk. As you can tell, he is a must connect. So make that a point. That's Brian Baker, Century Equipment. We're going to wrap it up on the other side. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Well, what did I tell you? Yeah, you're doing some great stuff at Century Equipment. Brian Baker. You know what I do that I shouldn't do? I pull away from the mic. I shouldn't pull away from the mic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it falls off after I pull away from the mic, so don't listen to me. Anyway, he was great. You need to connect with him. Go out to Industrial Talk. You'll have that little LinkedIn link, and you reach out to him, you click on it, and you say, yeah, let's connect, and let's have a conversation. Solve my problems. And they will. They'll do a great job doing that. Again, your voice needs to be heard. You need to be out on Industrial Talk. You need to go to industrialtalk.com or email me at info@industrialtalk.com and say, Scott, I want to be on the show. And I say, yeah, that's sort of cool. What's the story? Make it happen. All right, be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Brian, and you will be changing the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.